Hello, today I'm actually at Tamar Caravan Centre to talk about habitation checks. You might have seen in videos which I've talked about previously where I'm talking about having your gas and your electrics checked. So today we're going to be talking about the importance, why you should actually be having that done, and also why you should actually have it done even if you've bought a brand new vehicle. A lot of people are now doing DIY conversions, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, people are saving money by doing the job themselves. But habitation check is actually going to give you that kind of peace of mind just to make sure that you have actually done that job properly. So I'm joined by Tim today, or should I say I'm joining Tim because I'm actually at Tamar, and we're going to be talking about that. So first of all, NCC, what is the NCC?
So the NCC AWS, which is the Approved Workshop Scheme, it's a joint venture between the Camping and Caravanning Club and the Camping and Motorhome Club. And it's kind of an independent organisation that assess workshops like ourselves to make sure that we meet the standard. And they work closely alongside the manufacturers of NCC approved products.
Because obviously we've got the NCC manufacturers, which is obviously different because obviously they build the caravans, they build the motorhomes, the campervans, and they're NCC approved actual baseline products, but then the actual approved repairer make workshops different.
Yeah, so the approved workshops are really looking at the likes of dealerships like ourselves to make sure, and mobile engineers as well, to make sure that we meet a certain standard when we're checking, you know, habitation checks or it might be the full caravan servicing as well. So it meets that standard that should then be uniform throughout the industry.
Should be, but it isn't. Which kind of brings me on to my next thing, which I just obviously mentioned, that even if you've got a brand new campervan conversion, which has been done professionally and it's bells and whistles and it's top of the range and it's luxury and all that kind of stuff, it might not actually be built that well. Because if it's not NCC approved, then it doesn't have certain features. And I've just seen on a brand new van, which you've got here, which I will be bringing you in a couple of weeks' time. It looks amazing. And it's not a VW, and that has got a couple of features on there which I see on a lot of the other NCC approved ones, but you don't see on the other professional conversions. So why would somebody who's bought a brand new conversion actually come for a habitation check?
So I guess you know, there's lots of people, like you say, DIY installs. There's lots of other manufacturers that do a really good job of a conversion, but might not necessarily have the NCC approved manufacturer status. So I think it's quite important that, although we obviously put in our trust in them when we buy the vehicle, it's worth checking that vehicle to make sure it does meet the safety standards. So things like, you know, gas, for instance, which, you know, we have to remember is in the vehicle that we're sleeping in. So to have it properly tightness tested and things like that, make sure it's safe to use, really. And that's you know, why obviously workshops like we have, you know, that's what our job is to do that inspection.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen some professional conversion within the last month or so where somebody had posted the pictures on Facebook, and this was actually quite an expensive conversion, and it had rubber gas hoses throughout the vehicle, and it's like, well, that's not within regulation. You know, why is that professional converter actually putting them in there? And part of it is because there obviously has been a big influx of new converters coming into the industry.
Yeah.
And they're not quite as clued up. But I have also seen that there's somebody who, they are new, it's quite obvious they are new, and they're a growing business. And you have actually seen over months, that you see these different images of some of the vans which they're converting. And there has been steady improvements, which is great that they're doing it. But there still are people out there who are putting, I mean, household 240 volt wiring in there. It's just not fit for purpose for a van, is it?
Not really, no. And again, there's ways and means to do it, isn't it? But if you're not aware of the standard, then they might be fitting it really well and really neat and everything else, but if they're not necessarily fully aware of what standard it should meet, which is what obviously the NCC manufacturer approval gives you, then they're just doing their best job. It's not necessarily bad on their behalf, but obviously it should really be checked to make sure that the wiring meets the correct criteria for tripping the breakers, the gas is done properly, in sealed lockers and things like that. So
because that again is something else which you're seeing. We're still seeing cupboards and like the gas bottles being
just chucked in the cupboard. Yeah.
And this is again professional conversion, but because people don't understand, like the buying public don't understand. But that's obviously one of the things which I'm trying to do with these videos. I am not getting people to spend X amount of money on a camper van because that's the best way of doing it. I'm just trying to educate people as to, look, this is what you need to be looking out for. Do a DIY conversion yourself, that's fine, but get it habitation checked. The NCC approvals, which I know I always bang on about them, but we know that they are built properly. They are built to that regulation. But the funny thing is, people keep saying, well, they're too expensive. Yeah, but they're actually probably cheaper than some of these luxury top-of-the-range blahs, because they're all blinged up and they've got the big wheels and the body kits, which are great, don't get me wrong, I do like them.
Yeah.
But they're not built in the same way. They've got lower spec components.
Yeah.
And a lot of all the NCC ones, they have those better components and they are done properly and they've got the correct ventilation.
Yeah. And I think you have to bear in mind that to meet that NCC approval and get that tick in the box, if you like, there is an element of cost, because if you're not reaching the standard, you've got to change your design and everything else like that. So, but that's ultimately why you have that standard, is to make sure that it is safe.
Yeah.
Because that's all we want, isn't it? Well, certainly we do, for our customers to be safe in their van, sleeping in it, cooking in it, and using the electric. So,
and what the kind of point which I'm getting at is, you've spent 60 grand on your van, you've spent 30 grand, you spent 10 grand, you've spent 5 grand. I did a video with somebody and they've got a budget van and they've done this themselves, and then they've had a check afterwards. Well, they didn't have gas, so I think they only had the electrics checked, but they paid money to do it. Well, that £100 or 150, 200, 300 pound, whatever it is for that check, they now know that they're sleeping in something which is safe.
Yeah.
You can't really put a price on that safety. And you can come at it from a perspective that I've seen a lot of these vans which are really dangerous, really, really dangerous. I mean, I spoke to 3 MOT stations, I think it was the end of last year, and they said the amount of vans which we get in which are just not safe, the conversions are not safe, yet they will pass their MOT because they're not testing the conversion element of it. The seat beds aren't fitted correctly. They've got that 240 volt, two-core wire, I can't remember the correct terminology, but they've got that wiring in there, they've got the rubber hoses, they've not got the correct ventilation, but yet they'll pass its MOT and it'll be safe for MOT, but they know full well that there is no safety plate under that seat bed, and if they are involved in an accident, it could quite easily rip out the chassis.
And I think that's the thing. So we all own vehicles and we have the engine service and everything else like that, but with a motorhome or a camper van, the habitation is just as important. Because, like I've said probably too many times in this video, we're sleeping in them, we're cooking in them, we're using the electric. So probably
sleeping in them more than driving in them. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So actually, it is probably more important.
Yeah.
So habitation check then. So what kind of does it? Well, what does it involve, and why should you be having it?
Well, we liken it really to essentially an MOT. So it depends on obviously what the vehicle is, whether it be a caravan, which has also got the mechanical side, but obviously with camper vans and motorhomes, the habitation check involves quite a detailed list of things that we go through. It's a systems check, so any appliances, bits and pieces like that are fully checked on the various different operations, because obviously in some vehicles there's 3-way fridges, so you've got gas, 12 volt and 230. One of the most important features, I think, is the RCD check. So whereby we will test the installation to make sure that it will trip out should there be an issue. The gas installation, so the gas tightness test as well, is really important. So we liken it to like an MOT, where we're testing all the systems in the van. And obviously if it's a coach built, there's also potentially, not so much these days, but the damp check elements as well. But things like even blinds are covered as part of the habitation check to make sure that they're functional and operational. So, and also water systems.
Yes.
So a check of that is done as well. And I guess if you have bought an NCC approved vehicle, the Hab check also covers the warranty side. So it keeps you within that warranty for the various products that are fitted in it.
Yeah. So if I've got a van and then I've built it myself, and I've done the electrics myself, and I've done the gas myself, but then I've not fitted the gas hob properly, if I put rubber hoses in there, if I put some units which are not within the regulation, which a lot of these converters are doing, getting away with it, what kind of response would I likely to get from yourselves if I brought that into you?
So we're here obviously not to beat people up because you don't want to do that, but purely as an advisory. So we would produce a report that will give them an advisory about, if you take the rubber hose for instance, you shouldn't use that in a van because it has a shelf life. It should be proper copper pipe. Yeah. So we would give you a report of that. And just let you know, it's not about, like I said, beating you up. It's just advising what should be changed, just to make sure that you're safe, really.
So, say MOT, and an MOT is obviously an annual thing. Although personally, I would recommend a Hab check from day one, not from the 3 years as an MOT is. But why would you have one every year with a habitation check?
If you're under warranty, like I've said before, it maintains that because again, you should have a check after the first 12 months. So yeah, the other side of it is obviously we're driving these vehicles on the road, and as they're most of them are hand built, even the NCC approved manufacturers. The vehicle's constantly moving, vibrating. So things can work loose, and again, having that Hab check just makes sure that all the systems are working correctly, which ultimately means that when you're using the van, you're not going to have any issues with it.
So what kind of cost are we looking at for an annual habitation check for let's say a campervan?
For a van conversion of VW size, if you like, it's a 38-point check, and including VAT, that's 175.
Okay.
Takes about 2 hours to do.
What if it was a motorhome or a much bigger campervan, a crafter size, or is that still kind of like classed as a campervan?
We'd still class that as a campervan, to be fair. If it's a coach built, so a motorhome,
Yep.
A motorhome habitation service, which is a 44-point check, you'd be looking at 270, including VAT. It's a bit more in depth, obviously a few more checks on a motorhome than there is a van conversion.
Okay, so if I built a van myself then,
yeah.
And it was a camper van, is that going to be like the £170 check for you to tell me that it's been done correctly?
Yes, yeah. So anything sort of van conversion size, VW, Transit Custom, Crafter, that type of thing.
Okay. So for £170, it seems to be rather well worth it. And I know when I've not got gas in my van, I use a Kodak, so I've got the stove, bottles, etc.
Yeah.
Which obviously I bought from you.
Thank you.
But I had the electric chest checked, and I didn't have that done from you. But I had that done because I bought the lithium iron phosphate battery.
Yeah.
I bought the inverter, I bought lots of other kit, the solar panel and things like that, at the time when I was doing it myself. So I actually paid, and it was just an hour's labour for somebody to kind of go through the whole system and essentially say, yes, actually, that is now adequate. You may now turn that on, and you shouldn't have any problems. And then that's obviously, because obviously that vibration, you know, the wires coming loose and things, that's obviously something which needs to be done each year. And one of my bugbears, which I really don't like, is the solar panels which can get fitted and they're without a gland. You know, a converter did show me once that, you know, the damage that can actually do. You know, if they're just poking through the pop top, you know, because people think, oh, it's only a bit of pop top, it'll be absolutely fine, I can just poke the wire through. But because it vibrates and moves, you know, it can fray through. So it's things like that which kind of need to be checked throughout the actual vehicle. You know, these 12-volt fires, because it is the 12-volt side of electrics, which a lot of people say is the, you know, the dangerous aspects of it. You know, loose cable or loose earth or something like that, and then all of a sudden you can see your pride and joy going up in flames. So for that 170 quid, and I know it's an extra cost with everything's going up, with insurances going up, and tax has been going up for certain categories, and fuel's going up. But actually, it's what's better to pay 170 quid or sit at a campsite with you seeing your van go up in smoke because something's been wrong with it.
And hope the insurance pays out on it. But again, you know, the NCC has regulations for the cabling, so even the amount of clips that have to be on that cable. So it is really a set standard, and I don't think we would go to that extent, but we'd certainly advise customers if we detect anything or see anything that could potentially cause an issue. So it's, again, like you say, it's £175 that probably nobody wants to spend. But I think, I mean, obviously I'm going to say that because that's part of our business, but in the long run, if you look at that, it's a safety aspect. So, you know, it's I believe it's worthwhile.
And seeing some of these vans around, a lot of them would probably come with 170 quid and then a great big long list of actual things that need to be done, which we've all seen. And another big burn, I know you don't probably pick it up, well, you won't pick it up on a habitation check, and annoyingly it doesn't actually get picked up on an MOT, but I've seen lots of problems with this recently, is the incorrectly load rated tyres and alloys. That is obviously a problem, but it's one of those where people just think it's fine, they don't need to be. You know, if you're driving around, I think the one I saw the other day was like 94, and it was on a T32, so like it should have been well over 100.
Again, I guess
it's torn to pieces. Well, no, you know, it's obviously why.
But again, if you're doing it yourself, you're probably not considering that.
No.
Because all you're thinking about is the internals and what layout you want and what, you know, what bits and pieces. But it is, again, you know, that's part of your channel, isn't it, to educate people. So it is worth mentioning because it's really important that you've got the correctly rated tyres for obvious reasons.
And it, like I say, it is. I am just trying to educate people. I'm not telling people to go and buy this van or go and buy that van. It is just buy something that, you know, that is safe, that suits your budget. Tony, who was on the channel the other week, like I said, he bought the van for about £5,000. He spent about 700 quid doing these electrics and bought a cooker for like 25 quid. It's probably not something which I'd have in my van, but for his purpose, it's fine. He went and got it checked out, and everything was safe. So actually, you know, what more can you ask for?
Exactly.
You know, he can still go to the same places as me. We can still go down to Harlan and go into the beach and, you know, stay overnight, have a sleep and things, and we can both be safe.
But I think obviously it gives him peace of mind when he's sleeping in it that, you know, that what he's done is actually, you know, correct and satisfies the standard, doesn't it? So it's, you know, from his perspective, he's probably a lot happier using it.
So there you go. That's the importance of a habitation check. I do highly, highly recommend having one done for 170 quid. You might obviously not all be local to Plymouth, but there are going to be garages throughout the country or in whatever country you're in, and they will do similar checks. It's well worth doing it, even if you are going to just do it once You know, I do recommend it annually, but even if you're just going to do it once, just make sure that it is correct. And if you've got those gas hoses in there, the shelf life, is it 5 years? They're meant to be replaced after 5 years?
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversions out there who were built pre that 5 years ago, and they've got gas hoses in there which haven't been replaced. It's just get it checked, you know, make sure that you do it properly. So if you didn't see the video where I'm talking about the budget van, which Tony got, you can have a look at that video here. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you soon.